When I was thinking about this occasion this morning, I was minded typically to write a speech. But I said that a speech has the effect of imprisoning one. And I did not want to be imprisoned. I said therefore to myself that the environment will provide the speech for me. And there is a sense therefore in which I have no written speech. But permit me to say that this graduation ceremony reminds me of a graduation ceremony that took place nearly 3,000 years ago. It is a graduation which is recorded in the Bible in the book of Daniel. And in that graduation, I remember so very distinctly that a king from Babylon called Nebuchadnezzar had invaded the land of Judah. And when he invaded that land, he asked who may have been described as his vice-chancellor, Ashpenaz, to go to the Jews and to select from within their ranks young men who are properly trained to join what must have been the University of Nebuchadnezzar. And we are told that those young men were Daniel. We are told that they were Hananiah, and that there was Mishael, and that there was Azariah. And when they joined the university, they were given new academic names. One was Belshazzar, and the others were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And I learned from that recording that they joined a course that entailed instruction and examination for 3 years. And I'm informed in that book that during the entire period that they attended that university, they were to enjoy the privilege of eating food made from the king's table, including choice wine. But these students were students of a different class. They believed in a God whom they worshiped, and they were prepared to have their name changed, but they were not prepared to do certain things. One of the things that they were not prepared to do is to eat food that had been sacrificed to idols. And they therefore told the vice-chancellor of the university, allow us to go through the studies, but we will not eat food from the chancellor's table, nor will we drink wine from the chancellor's table. And the Bible then records that they were allowed to eat food of their choice, which was no more than vegetables. And we are told that after 10 days, they looked better than all the other students. And we are told further that after 3 years of graduation, after they had graduated, they were subjected to oral examination. And that during those oral examinations, they were asked questions in the arts, in the sciences, and in literature. And they were found to be 10 times better than the other students. In other words, they graduated cum laude. And we are informed that when they had so graduated, they were given the privilege of serving the king. Daniel was given a choice position, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego served with him. But as is typical today, even 3,000 years ago, the spirit of jealousy was alive and well. And that there are people who thought that these individuals should not be allowed to serve. They therefore prevailed upon Vice-Chancellor Nebuchadnezzar, who was also the king. And they told him, you make an idol of gold and require everyone to worship that idol. The decree issued from Nebuchadnezzar that everybody must worship that idol. And everybody did worship that idol. But this young man said, we will not worship that idol. And they refused to worship that idol. And the word went to King and Chancellor Nebuchadnezzar. And he approached the young men and they said, we are not going to worship your idol because the God that we serve is going to preserve us. But even if he does not, we will not worship nevertheless. And we are told that Nebuchadnezzar asked that fire be lit and that it be 7 times hotter than usual. And that some well-built men were then told to hold these 3 men and throw them in the fire. And the Bible records that even as they approached, they were consumed by the fire. But these 3 men, when they went into the fire, we are told, in the very sight of King Nebuchadnezzar, a 4th man appeared.
Yes, sir.
And Nebuchadnezzar himself testified that did we not throw 3 men in there?
Yes, sir.
How is it that there is a 4th man and he looks like the son of the God? The Bible is so explicit in telling us that nothing happened to them and they were removed from the fire. It is a sense in which you remind me of that day, 3,000 years ago. You have been thrown into the furnace of examination. You have been thrown in an environment of difficulty, but by the grace of God, you are present here today to graduate because there was a 4th man in your examination paper. And he was like the son of the gods. And lo and behold, you are graduating today. But it does not stop there. Because once you have graduated, you go out there to serve the world and serve humanity. But yet another event took place 2,000 years ago, very much mirroring what had happened 3,000 years. That those who had graduated had the opportunity and the privilege at once of confronting the Son of Man himself. If you care to read, and you must care to read, you go out there and read what is recorded in the book of Matthew at chapter 23. And you will discover there that the Son of Man confronts a group of people called the Pharisees. These individuals were known for many things, including demanding that they be called rabbi, including that they be accorded great titles, that they may sit at the best places at funerals and at weddings. But Christ himself said that those who must be great amongst you must humble themselves. Because if you humble yourself, you will be exalted, and if you exalt yourself, you will be humbled. I'm submitting to you, you have chosen your clarion call as daring to do something. You dare, but do so in humility. You go out there and know that the mother's milk of true service is humility. But I do not stop there. In the same book of Matthew, at chapter 20, I meet yet another opportunity of young men who must have graduated because there was another school, a school 2,000 years ago. It was the Jesus School. And there were only 12 students in that school. And you remember the 12 students, one of them became a miscreant and escaped Judas Iscariot. But there was another one. And there were others. And they had a mother, the sons of Zebedee. You remember James and John, one they had graduated. Their mother came to engage in influence peddling to prevail upon the Son of Man that they may be given jobs, just as you'll be looking for jobs. And the mother said, oh Christ, I have my 2 sons, let one of them be on your right hand and another one on your left. And the Christ told the mother, they prepared to drink from the cup that I shall drink and to be baptized with the baptism that I shall be baptized. And they said, we shall be. But Christ says, they will indeed drink from the cup that I will and be baptized with the baptism that I shall be baptized. But as to who is to sit on the right or the left hand, that is preserved for those whom my Father has chosen. You too, I see you here, asking to sit on the right hand and on the left side. But I tell you that the left and the right side is preserved for those who are worthy. Because Christ says that when all is said and done, he who is to be great amongst you must be your servant. He who is to be great amongst you, he who wants to be first, must be last. So you are here today, having graduated from this great university. You are going into the world to serve her. The world needs to be served. When I look in this congregation, I see men and women drawn from different civilizations. I see the splendor of the Negro in their dark-hued color present in this assembly. Mother Africa waits for you to serve her. Are you going to serve Mother Africa? I see the cool brown of the Asians, complete with the turban, present in this assembly. Mother Asia begs to be served. Although I do not see the Caucasian, they are here with their pale color. Mother Africa and Mother Europe waits to be served. Are you going to serve her? Because once again, in that same book of Matthew, at chapter 25, we are told that there was another incident. A parable by Christ himself of a man, a rich man, who designed to leave his home. And having seen his workers, just as you are present here, from diverse backgrounds, we are told he gave each one of them. He gave each one of them 5 talents, one 5 talent, and another 2 talents, another 1 talent. Today, the holders of bachelor's degrees will receive 1 talent. The holders of the master's degree will receive 2 talents. And the holders of the PhD degree will receive 5 talents. Or the master will go away for a long time. And he'll come back. But I'm begging you, you holders of single talents, do not make the Bible ring true on this matter. When the master comes back, the Bible records that he shall call each one of them. The holders of the PhD with 5 talents will be asked if they graduated properly. Possibly they'll say, since I graduated, I've written 10 articles. I'm now an associate professor or a professor. And the good master will say, good work. And the one with the 2 talents will say, since I graduated, I've earned my PhD. And the master will say, good work. And to you who are receiving 1 talent today, don't be as it is in the Bible to say, I knew you. But you are in the business of reaping where you did not sow. This time round say, you gave me little, I worked on it, I now have a master's degree. So that if there is ever to be a revision in the Bible, let that be the only parable that is revised. Because as I say to you and as I know, those who seek That which require effort must make effort. It is not that you will fail. Winston Churchill was right when he said that the journey of life is to move from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. I'm submitting to you that you are in a good place. I'm submitting to you that the world out there is waiting to be served, because today there is no shortage of men and women who desire good service. You know, not so long ago, I was rereading the great Hindu epic, the Mahabharata, in the version that is rendered by the great Indian nationalist Raja Gopalachari. And I was reading the portion that deals with education. And Rajaji, as he was then called, says that if education that you acquire does not change your mind and heart, it is no different from the shirt that you wear in the morning and remove in the evening. I'm submitting to us that the education that you have acquired today should be the education that changes your minds and hearts, that those who behold you are able to say, behold, a great but a humble lady. Behold, a great but a humble man. Because I know, and the Mahatma Gandhi was right, that he who is merely learned but has no ethics and conscience is no better than a baboon with a Kalashnikov. I'm submitting to us that in this institution there is great meaning in having ethical conduct in what you do. It is not lost on me that this institution is one that is founded on the ethics of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but there is a sense in which there is ecumenism in the provision of education. And that there are people of different faiths present in this assembly. And it makes me remember an argument about the value of education in 1947. When India's Mahatma Gandhi was talking about education and the need to respect each other's religion, he said that as a young man in Porbandar in Gujarat, he remembers one day when the person who was leading the service on that day, for some reason, a reason that he could not tell, chose to read from the Jewish Torah through to the Muslim Quran, through to the Christian Bible, and through to the Hindu Gita, as if it did not matter which book was being read as long as God was being worshipped. And there is a sense today in which that has great meaning to me, that today we have an opportunity of determining the value of education. And it matters not whether one is Indian or whether one is African or whether one is Caucasian. What we have acquired here is that we have graduates in economics, graduates in nursing, and the last time I checked, those who need nurses are not asking whether they are Negroid or Caucasians. What they want is a good nurse. But I'm saying that education must be the education that changes you completely. Alexander Pope was right when he said, drink deep the western spring or taste not, because a little modernity is a dangerous thing. I'm submitting to us that we must immerse ourselves in education, and that education must be the education that turns us inside out and changes us to be agents of change in the spheres of life that we desire and deserve. Is it not Ralph Waldo Emerson, who so long ago said that if you make a better mousetrap than your neighbor, even if you live in the woods, the whole world will make a beaten path to your residence. I'm submitting to you, go out there and make a better mousetrap. That we may look, because there are still rats waiting to be caught, and we are looking for a better mousetrap. I'm submitting to us that when I look at your faces, unless the faces are made up to deceive me, I see faces of men and women who are determined to go out there and change the world. Africa requires change. Africa requires nurses. Africans are dying younger. Those of you who come from South Sudan, go out there and do that which is good and right. You are needed there. Those of you who are from the Democratic Republic of Congo, go out there. You have intellectualized. You have moralized. You have philosophized. Now go and act. Those of you who are from Kenya, our mother Kenya, we are doing slightly better than other African countries. But what is the point of one dwarf being slightly taller than the other dwarf? We should seek to be giants, and we can't be giants. Go out there and inject our mother Kenya with steroids, that she may acquire her DNA prescribed height. And she can do it, and she can only do it if you want it to be done. Those of you who are from Uganda, go out there and make the pearl shine even better. Oh, those of you who are from South Africa, go out there, that land of Nelson Holisasa Mandela, and Albert Lutuli, and Oliver Reginald Tambo. Go out there and make it better. You can, and it must be done. Those of you who are from India or Pakistan, that great land of the Mahatma, that great land of Jawaharlal Nehru and Muhammad Ali Jinnah in Pakistan, that land requires you to make her better. Go out there and serve her. Those of you who are from the United States of America, that great land, the land of the Pilgrim's Pride, the land of the brave, the land of Martin Luther King Jr. and George Washington. Go out there, that land that Trump now presides over. Go out there and help Trump, that he may continue to serve his motherland well. Inject his enthusiasm with religious ethics which he is working on. Go out there. So our charge today is to remember that graduation is an important occasion. To remember that the acquisition of knowledge is just but an avenue for helping us achieve what desire. You know, sometimes when I allow my mind to know fertility and to imagine a little bit more wildly than it should, I think of the judgment day. On that day when we are gathered to our fathers, when God in his divine glory is present. You allow me a little latitude, even a little blasphemy. And Peter is standing there with the book of life, and the angel Gabriel is there. I'm imagining, I'm allowed to imagine. And it's the judgment of the white throne. And we are coming one by one. And God is inquiring of us. You went to Baraton University. You graduated from Baraton University. After graduation, what did you do to my people? Did you serve well, that you may go to heaven? What will be your answer? You know, there are two ways of being great before you go to heaven. There is the great Greek tradition, where we had men and women who served well. But there was one Greek who did nothing throughout his life. When he was about to die, he decided that the best thing that he could do in order to be remembered immortally in history was to burn a cathedral. Herostratus. Do not burn cathedrals. Serve. And there is opportunity for you to serve. You said that you are daring and that is your desire. I'm submitting to you that those who dare must leave the shores, because if you do not lose sight of the shore, you'll never discover new islands. So go out there in an adventure of doing excellence. Go out there in an adventure of doing that which is good and right, simply because it is good to do that which is good and right. Go out there. And when you go out there, be imbued with the spirit of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Also, as you remember, this graduation is reminiscent of what happened in the University of Nebuchadnezzar. So you latter-day Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednegos, when you go out there, I want you to remember that there is no shortage of Nebuchadnezzars. I want you to remember that there is no shortage of men and women who will ask latter-day Nebuchadnezzars to erect gods of gold. And those gods of gold will come in the form of cars and properties and many things. And they shall be telling you, come and worship us. I'm submitting to you, do not worship them. Worship only the true God. Remembering always that even Christ was enticed by Satan himself and told, behold, if you worship me, the whole world will be yours. But Christ is ever right. What does it benefit a man or a woman to gain the whole world and to lose his or her soul? One can go on and on, but one cannot stand between you and your degrees. I am not that person. So today, I'm submitting to us fellow human beings, drawn from different civilizations. Let the spirit that you have had at this Baraton University be the spirit with which you go out into the world. And I'm now speaking to Kenyans, my fellow Kenyans. We live in a country which is great in prospect. But the tragedy of our country is that we judge one another on the basis of our ethnic extraction. I'm submitting to us that there is nothing wrong with being a Kikuyu. In fact, sometimes I say that if God were to come to Kenya, I would say, oh, these great Kikuyus. These great Kikuyus that you give a barren land and they convert it into a fertile land. Oh, these great Kikuyus. God would say, oh, these great Kalenjins, these fellows, you give them long legs and they beat the entire world. Oh, these great Kalenjins. And I submit to us that he would say, oh, these Luhyas, these great Luhyas, these energetic Luhyas. When he looks at the Kambas, he would say, oh, these obedient Kambas, these obedient Taita Tavetas, these people who do what they are told to do. And he would go on and on to the Turkana, and then he would come to the Luo and said, oh, these Luos. These men who in their quest for perfection look like they are arrogant. And he would say, oh Kenya, you have my all good people. And he would say, and he would instruct Kenyans, have you ever looked at a piano? And he would say, you go and look at the piano and see how when you play the white and the black, they produce melodious music. And he would say, go out and use your diversity for purposes of melody. You go out there and do that which is good and right. God bless.